Welcome back. As you can see, I'm not in uniform. It's the weekend and it's really cold. So I need to invest in something where I can put my EliteProAli insignia on, just for the sake of aesthetics. Now, today, I'm not talking about the fitness archive. It's just something that comes up in my mind every time I post a physique photo or a posing video. People point out how developed my back is. And even though I like to think my body is pretty balanced and complete, there's no denying the fact that my back is a strong point. Just like there's no denying the fact that my biceps are weak. But overall, I'm pretty complete, I must say. At least that's my opinion. So today, I want to talk about the exercises you need for a complete back. So yeah, let's get to it. And before I start, there's one thing I want to add that's controversial towards the end. So stay tuned. Now, when it comes to back development, there's one thing you got to keep in mind. Okay? And I know this sucks to hear, but genetics reign supreme. So I can't take full credit. I like to think that I execute my movements really well. I like to think I have some nuance, which I'll discuss in other videos when it comes to lifting or how you execute certain movements. But at the end of the day, I was blessed with decent muscle insertions, muscle bellies, and the fact that I have my mindset locked when it comes to staying lean year round, then that's all going to really exaggerate how my back looks like. Okay, so that's going to be the difference between you looking like Dorian Yates versus someone looking like, oh yeah, not bad. And then the other third person is going to be like, that's very misfortunate, very unfortunate for you, man. You've got a lackluster development when it comes to back. So in any case, first things first, the planes of motion. There's three main planes when it comes to pulling, okay, that you want to do when it comes to full development. The frontal plane, where your arms out to your side. The sagittal plane, when you're pulling this way and your elbows are tucked near your body. And then pulling this way, where your elbows are flared out from your body. Now, in my case, these are the exercises I do for the frontal plane. Wide grip pull-ups. For the sagittal plane, seal row. For the transverse plane, inverted row with my elbows flared out. My seal row is my elbows tucked in. You can do a seal row with elbows flared out. You can do a inverted row with your elbows tucked in. This is the ones that I chose. This is the ones that feel comfortable. This is the ones that make sense to me. Okay. Now, you can do a lat pull down. You can do a close grip pull down or pull up. You can do a close grip row, and you can do a reverse pec deck. That covers the entirety of the back. That is the same as what I just described. Wide grip pull up, close grip seal row, and wide grip inverted row. I choose these exercises because I love them, they're fun, and I am limited for exercises being a home gym owner. But I don't feel limited, I actually feel really blessed. In any case, the wide grip pull-up is going to bias the lower lats, okay? It's going to do other stuff too. It's going to have your, your traps, your back, and like, your rhomboids, your upper back, your rear delta, but it just really biases the lower lats. Now, when I say bias, don't think of it too much, okay? You can't isolate a muscle in the body, despite it being an isolation movement or what have you. In this case, it's a compound, but even if it's an isolation movement, you can't really fully isolate a muscle. Everything kind of works together in unison, but you can bias a region. So for example, we can bias the upper pecs depending on how we execute the movement, and we can bias the, lower or mid pec. And this is the same what goes with any other muscle group, any other, in this specific case, the back or the lats. So the wide grip pull up or pull down is going to bias the lower lats. Now, the sagittal pull, or in my case, the seal row, or anything that resembles similar execution, i.e. a close grip, row, or a close grip pull up, close grip pull down. The beautiful thing about this is it hits the entirety of the back, okay? Maybe the pull-up, the wide grip pull-up does too. I mean, I think it does, to be honest, but someone might disagree. But there's no denying that the sagittal pull does everything. And the beautiful thing about this is it frees your mind if you are someone busy, someone who's in medical school, doing residency, someone who wants to travel or go on holiday, someone who has a newborn, someone who's sick of lifting and wants to pursue another discipline. you can have solace knowing that this exercise here will hit your traps, your upper back, your rear delts, your lats really, really hard. Now, this one really biases the upper lats, okay? So someone might think, I'm going to do a wide grip pull-up and, a close grip pull-up so I can really have complete lats. Perhaps, but to be honest, it's not that deep. But I am giving you guys some work here. It's something to work with where I'm going to give you these 3 planes. So, you don't overthink it. But again, if you only had to do one exercise out of the 3, then the sagittal pull, i.e. pulling with your elbows close to your body, that's going to definitely hit everything. Okay, there's no doubts about that. And then finally, the transverse row, or plane, I should say, in my case being the inverted row, that's going to really bias the rear delts, the traps, the upper back, okay? Again, we can't say because our elbows flared out that there is no lats involved whatsoever, okay? It's going to have minimal lats involved, but they will still be involved, okay? And if you're in doubt, or if you're really into the theory but don't have any application, well, once you have application, you're going to believe that as well. And if you just think about it in theory as well, if you get some massive tear or something that's really hinders your lats from really working, I guess, because it's an injury or something, just, I don't know, some great tear that's just happened, despite you trying to maneuver around it, it's still involved in some way, shape, or form, okay? So again, this is why I say you can't really isolate a muscle, but you can bias a region. So this, like I said, is going to bias the upper back, the rhomboids, the rear delts. So you have all these motions in check, and you're going to have a really, really developed back. You're not going to have any sort of deficiencies, in my opinion. Then it just comes down to how long have you been doing this, how is your execution, and what are your genetics like. My suggestion is, and this is going to suck, but do it for 10 years with really pristine form, perfect form. Standardize it in some way, shape, or form, especially pulling exercises. You need to standardize them. They're not like pushing, like say chest press, where you just can't push anymore and you fail. These ones you can keep going. You pull to here, and then you start pulling there, and then there. You need to standardize it. Standardize it, execute eloquently with poise and grace, and give it time. And then you can decide whether you have elite level genetics, not bad, and my God, why me? Okay? So these are the 3 things. These are the 3 planes of motion you need to be executing. Now, the thing that is controversial is the deadlift. The deadlift is king. A lot of people are going to disagree, especially in the science-based community. But when I see massive people with massive backs, powerlifters, bodybuilders, just any sort of strength athlete or just athlete in general, they do a deadlift, specifically the conventional deadlift. RDLs will help, but RDLs aren't as good, and I'll get into that perhaps if I don't forget. But conventional deadlifts just reign supreme. For me personally, I feel in my lats, which again, I know I sound like a broken record, but when you pick an exercise for your back in those 3 planes, make sure you feel a pump in the regions that you want. So if you're doing a pull-up and you're feeling rear delts, nothing wrong with that. And again, like I say, you can't fully isolate, but if you're feeling rear delts, but you don't feel it in your lats whatsoever, then pay attention to that. If you wake up the next morning and there is no DOMs and it's a new exercise, you've just started doing pull-ups, or you switch from pull-ups to doing lat pull-downs, you've never done pull-downs before, pay attention to that. Even if you only just get DOMs once and you never get DOMs again, pay attention to it. That's going to tell you, yep, this definitely hits my lats, and it will take away any sort of doubt, okay? So for me personally, even though people say the deadlifts don't hit the back whatsoever, just the spinal erectors, the lumbar, and the posterior chain, for me it does. I get lat DOMs, I get the pump during the execution. It's probably my limb lengths, probably my anthropometry, probably my execution, but I feel my lats. And I went from 2014 all the way to 2016, maybe even 2017, where I did no sagittal, frontal, or transverse pulling. No pulling movements whatsoever. Maybe I'm throwing them in every now and again, just like when I do leg extensions every now and again. But for the most part, it was just deadlifts, sumo deadlifts, until strongman forced me to switch to conventional. And my back was bigger than ever and it was thicker than ever. I didn't have that thickness despite doing those 3 planes of motion. Now, get strong as if on the deadlift. Get super strong. Is it no wonder that I have a very developed back when I can do triple my body weight for reps? And when I chuck a belt on, it'll be for actual reps, like 6 to 8. You know, I've done that in the past, 8 reps on the conventional deadlift. I've done 8 reps with 220 kilos, i.e. 485 pounds, basically 495 pounds, like 5 plates for 8 reps. You know, stop and go, not touch and go. Is it no wonder that my back's developed like that? I don't know. And you see anyone else with a big back, they deadlift really, really heavy. Do what you will with that information. But yeah, I guess that's what I have to say for today's video. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, let me know. But yeah, it's actually pretty simple. It's very, very simple. Just to recap, deadlift. Oh, before I forget, the RDL. Why? It's because the RDL, it's a great exercise. I do it, but it puts you in a mechanical disadvantaged position to target the posterior chain. So you take out, you know, you reduce the knee flexion that's happening, so you get less quads. And I know the quads have nothing to do with your back development, but you know, it does help that you're shifting quite a bit of weight, in my opinion. I don't know, like I've seen people that RDL a decent amount and they don't have a pretty good back. Maybe I'm getting really bro science into this, but I think there's something to be said with conventional deadlifts. But I know most people, or not most people, but some people probably can't do it because they don't want to risk injury, or they have been injured before, or the execution of it is a little bit, in my opinion, is a little bit harder and just a little bit more nuanced than RDL. That's just my opinion. Someone else might disagree. I don't know. Let me know if you disagree. But this is basically what I do. You know, it's actually pretty simple. Lift in those planes, frontal, sagittal, transverse, and do a deadlift. Get super strong on those, but pick exercises that you actually feel the pump in and get DOMs afterwards. You don't always have to feel the pump, but at least feel it once. You don't have to always get DOMs, but at least feel it once. I actually get DOMs all the time and I feel the pump all the time, believe it or not, despite I do full body 3 times a week. You know? And if you're pressed for time, you know, you just like, dude, I'm sick of this, or I just want to develop back, but I don't want to live in the gym, the sagittal plane, like pulling with a elbow that's close to your body. In any case, I'm out of here, guys. I'm going to tend to my family and just chill a bit. Otherwise, I might see you tomorrow. If not, starting next week when I get into work. Cheers.